Okay, I think I've given him feedback on like his initial build order, because he was having an issue where his first few units out of factory, he wasn't really able to do much with them. Idle's not fun, but we've got Q. So his first few units out of the factory didn't really do much, but he's still putting out the scouts because he's getting raid, and that's often possible in these lower skill lobbies to get a lot of raiding value from these scouts, so long as you pay attention to them. And we see a constructor come out and we're going for blitz. I think his commander's staying in base longer, and I think that's beneficial. So yeah, we got a bit of rating value over here. The scouts over here doesn't look like they achieved much, and that's it. It's all right. Okay, we did kill a mechs over here, so light rating value. It's probably fine, especially when they don't rebuild the mechs. It's extra value for you. And then we've got blitz coming through. Now I'd really caution against using blitz because they really can't see far. We look at the view, it's like this circle there, that's a very bad circle. Like this circle, that's as far as they can see. And so, like for example, if they meet a laser tower is going to start firing at them before they can fire back and things like that. So you're at great risk of that. There are a lot of X on the map, that's cool. Yeah, and so it's really hard for you to find targets, and you're at great danger of just walking into something that can kill you. In this case, great, but for example, if the commander was over here, you'd have been in trouble. It's not common to put the commander there, so yeah. I don't mind that, and I vastly prefer that you're actually using the blitz, rather than keeping them just waiting on the front line. But this does leave you very exposed to counter raiding, and chances are that if the enemy sends ticks or something across the map at you, now that your blitz are gone, he's probably going to be able to more effectively raid down your mexes than you will be able to with your blitz. Right. And it's probably worth noting that out here on the front line, these stout aren't probably able to do a whole much on the front line, again because they can't see really any enemy units. They have very small vision, so they're going to do very little to spot enemy units coming past, especially compared to if you see they've got a radar over here, and we've got the pawns over there. So I think this build that he's using is an improvement over the previous build, including in terms of resource usage and walking the commander on a separate line, not building early laser towers. But yeah. Alright, and then we've got missile trucks coming out, and like these isolated missile trucks are vulnerable, but it's good to see this coming over here, and it's also good to see the commander coming forward and building stuff. This is already looking a lot better than last game. We have an idle constructor that could be moving up. We've also got some resources and storage that I reckon it would be better to just leave this constructor on the factory so that you can build this extra constructor, get it out, and then get additional units to moving to the front line. Because remember, it's like, you're not using any of these resources, so the additional metal extractor isn't giving you very near benefit at all. It's going to take you a really long time before those resources are going to convert into a benefit. And then these units are limited in their ability to push forward and deal damage and deal with these enemy blitz because there are so few of them, partly because you've had a constructor not assisting the factory and not giving you more units on the front line. While this is pretty good, I'd like to see you having a few more units out and being more able to have an aggressive position. All these units, I'd say, could still be up here with the laser towers and fighting, rather than sitting back here and allowing them to mass extra units here to raid you. Alrighty. Good timing for the construction turret. This is a fairly healthy build, I think. And apparently you've got T2 coming out already, which is awesome. In preparation for the T2, scaling wind is a great option. And then using the commander forward aggressively like that in this case, that's really good. With some more pointed D-guns, it would have been a little better. You could have fairly simply D-gunned the rest of them. Lasering them down, if you can safely do that, is also great because it lets you reclaim the metal extractors. And definitely when you... I would still keep these missile trucks out in front, firing as much as possible, getting you value as long as possible. Because remember, it's like if they move forward, you can just move back to the laser towers, so they're safe enough. Also, make sure you've been doing this a lot, just for getting your waypoint units here on a waypoint from the factory, and they haven't... Earlier you had 2 missile trucks you are microing and you left one behind, and now you've had 3 missile trucks that were there not getting you value. All of that could have contributed to you killing even more blitz. Your commander might have more health. You'd be more safer able to capture these resources out here and deal damage to the enemy. Yeah. Keep in mind that especially when it's got 3 Janus and you only have 2 stouts, you might as well just stay at a range where your stouts can't fire, because that means his Janus also can't fire, but all your missile trucks can. So moving forward, letting his 3 Janus fire isn't worth letting just 2 stouts fire. If you had 5 stouts, maybe it would be worth it, but it's not worth it if you've only got 2 stouts and you're gonna unlock 3 Janus worth of firepower. Scaling your energy while you scale P3, that's awesome. I'd also be scaling build power right now. And yeah, in addition to that, probably you have enough army that you can keep any aggression away just with your army. But it would also be a good time now to start building static defenses so that you can scale this economy behind like this. I do like the multiple energy storages. It would be a little bit better if you could be using this metal. Do we have stats on energy access? No. Do we have stats on metal shared? Metal, energy sent, sorry. Energy sent. Oh, we've got about 9,000 energy sent, which is enough that you could have used your resources. So I do like, this is a good amount of energy storages so that you just have that runway. But even better if you could have used up all your metal and resources by just building a little more reliably. And awesome, I'm seeing you put out your additional build power. This is what I like. This is what I was saying you need to have earlier, and it's great to see that it's coming out now. And we're sitting the pork on the front. This is awesome. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Make sure another thing you could be doing to gain a little bit more value, as well as keeping the missile trucks firing, is just get your commander constructor to repair these units. It's really easy for this to just die now, where you could have repaired it and you'd still have an extra stout alive. Also stay away from these. It's gonna make it really difficult for you to micro. You could have been getting enough value just by sitting over here. Also, the benefit of being over here is it's closer to your allies over here. Alrighty. All this build power could be getting this metal extractor up faster, and I think that would be a better return for you in this state. And then the rest of your build power could be building energy production, because so far you've been scaling your metal production faster than your energy production. Average wind speed is about 11, so you have maybe about break even for just the 4 T2 maxes, but you've got a bunch of maxes on top of the T2 maxes. I think a better position for you to be in would have been around 600 metal per second, maybe 700 right now, but that's alright. And then this is a great time for you to start putting out artillery. I would just stick with artillery. I wouldn't build any Jaguar. They have enough defenses and short range units that you're not going to effectively be able to move into the Jaguar. But this is actually such a good front line for you. This is looking incredibly good compared to the previous game, so I'm really impressed by this. Yeah, my focus for this front with this artillery is as quickly as possible, get enough artillery that you can kill this. And don't really necessarily attack until you can kill this. Once you can kill this, then you can roll up the rest of your units and keep firing and keep fighting, and then you don't really need extra units because he can't really do anything to kill you. And then you can eco or freely do whatever you're behind. But this is looking really good right now. Something else I probably recommend with your artillery coming out, I usually queue 2 artillery and then a radar vehicle, and then probably another 5 artillery would be a good number of artillery. And that radar vehicle will allow you to spot if they move towards you. The radar vehicle is only slightly slower than the artillery, so it's not going to get there too far behind the 2 artillery, and you're not really going to use the first artillery anyway, so that's probably great. HLT, that's a heavy laser tower, so yeah, that will be this one here. This max path is pretty good. We are skipping this one over here, so keep that in mind, but generally speaking, it's a pretty good one. And this is going to be a good example of the problem with building these Jaguars. You killed the commander, yes, but if his commander was back safe where it should have been, he should have used his T1 constructors to come out here. You would have lost probably a lot of Jaguars and not really done much damage. And even fighting the commander, if he kept his army away, you'd have lost a bunch of Jaguars, killed the commander, but then he reclaims that and he's got an eco boost. So it would have been much better to first get artillery enough that you can whittle down the units he has, then follow that up with Jaguar after that. And then honestly after that, you would have had no need for bulls. Your artillery is going to do a lot of the job that bulls can do, slightly better because they have more range and almost the same speed. And so that can that can deal all the damage you need to the T1 units, and then your Jaguar can like take advantage of this sort of situation. This is where you should be using your Jaguar. All the defense is dead. You can just drive straight through and you would have been able to destroy all of this base probably, and pretty easily move over either to this base or this base and do a ton of damage to that as well. And so if you had pushed with the artillery and then gone through. But honestly, all of this is micro optimizations compared to like the previous game and this game. This is like incredible, really incredible. And what I would be doing with this factory actually right now, Lazarus reclaimed this army. It's all T1 units basically, so Lazarus would be the best. Yeah. And then the other thing I'd do is make sure you get that fusion up. These constructors definitely should have been adding to your wind generator collection. Yeah. And to be honest, it's like you can put up a fusion now, but you're possibly gonna get even more value in just pushing through the gap and destroying as much as possible. Once you've done that as much as you can, then that's probably the time to go for your fusion and scale up your resources. But you're going to get a lot more damage, like, value, and that's what, about a fusion worth of units here that you can destroy. Possibly could have pushed over here and killed a fusion worth of energy and come over there as well. No, actually no, the fusion's only half done. But still, there's a lot of damage you could have done very easily. So yeah. So in a case where you're punching through like that, the reason you want to go for a Jaguar is this distance here. All you have to kill is mexes, really. So you don't have a lot to kill, so you want to get through this section as fast as possible. So the Jaguar speed is a bonus. Now, in a base, they don't generally have a lot to shoot you with, but you have a lot of things to kill. So you want as little health as possible and as much firepower as possible. Jaguar wins again. Then finally, you want, if you're in that base, this is probably where they're most safely going to have aircraft that can deal damage to you. In this case, he has Banshees. Now, or he might have fighters or whatever. Jaguars also have anti-air, so that's why it just does everything better than a bull is likely to do. A bull does some things better, it has higher area of effect. What's the line of sight on a bull? A bull has more line of sight. You can remedy that somewhat by bringing your radar vehicle with your radar vehicle in with your Jaguars, which is even better than having a bull. And so yeah, that's the sort of thing you could do to break through and absolutely destroy this team right now. Alrighty. Yeah. And do make sure you're capitalizing these metal extractors. There's a lot of your stuff that's idle right now. I like that you're focusing all your resources on this fusion. That's a great thing to do. I think focusing all your resources on attacking units would have been better, but focusing on the fusion is a really good thing to do as well. And likewise, these units could be moving forward. Probably the best place for these artillery to go would actually be over here and start attacking these static defenses over here. Artillery is best when it can be defended by other things, so you want the artillery to stay as close as possible to use your side of the map. And you want to be fighting as close to your side of the map as possible so that it's easier to outnumber the enemy, and it's easier to retreat, and it's easier to get the reclaim and stuff. So generally speaking, I'd have pushed the artillery this way, or maybe over here, but there's not a lot to kill over here as well. Alrighty. Hotkey to mute the game. I think F6 by default is mute and unmute. Alrighty. Something to point out over here, actually, is that there's a lot of aircraft here that's pretty near the front that you can almost destroy. Now, it's a really good way to, like, just boost your team by just getting in a little bit of anti-air and destroying some of this aircraft. That can give you a slight aircraft advantage and allow this guy to bomb and do a bunch of damage. And so if you get an opportunity to do that, it's great to take advantage of it. And then what you can say, and then you can tell your guy, your air guy, that it's like, hey, I destroyed a bunch of their fighters. And then they can choose to build something other than fighters for a bit. Like, they can drop an extra fusion, or they can drop a bunch of bombers or shurikens or something and still maintain a fighter advantage. Yeah. The other thing that's cool is that this is a great example of someone just pushed a bunch of units through the gap. These could have been Jaguars all the same. There's nothing really here to kill. And so that's something you could have done. And this is just an example of what could have been done if you backed up your artillery with a bunch of Jaguars and maybe a radar. You just flood through the gap and the game's over. Basically. Alrighty. That was a really good game, really well played. And it's awesome to see that it was your front that really pushed through the game. Keep practicing. Keep iterating. And I'm looking forward to seeing where all your new skills take you. Awesome. Yeah. And guys, if any of you don't like send your replays to the academy in chat or something, this is a great example of the benefit of sending your replays to the academy. This guy was given feedback just a few days ago. He implemented basically all of my feedback that I gave him, and he's completely rolled the game. And so that's absolutely awesome. Definitely with help from his allies, and definitely like the lane he was in impacted it somewhat, but a lot of what he achieved in that game comes down to like the changes he made based on the feedback. So that's absolutely awesome. Yeah,